Hi, I'm Chayale.
Hi, I'm Hinty. Welcome to Your Relationshift. Join in our conversation where we explore
The nuance and beauty of Torah's perspective on relationships.
Hi, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
How are you?
Good.
Ah, Baruch
Happy to be
Hashem.
here.
Yes. So today we are talking about
Drum roll.
Drum roll each time, especially when you have the title already there, and that's what everyone clicks on. But the idea is it's still exciting to talk about parenting and the different roles of a mother and father when it comes to parenting and what it looks like to be a relationship or a feminine woman and parent at the same time. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, this is a great topic. It's such a sensitive topic. It's such a big topic. If you need to take a deep breath to really get into the episode, go for it. I think one of the things that really makes it challenging is there's definitely a universal voice or belief system of the man being the overgrown child. You know, people will say if they have 4 children, they'll be like, I have 5 children. So creating this sentiment where you're not living with another deeply reliable, functional adult. It's like all on the mom. She's got this. She knows how to parent. She's more in tune. She's more in touch with what the children need. She's better read, well read on parenting. And that leaves her feeling she's doing this on her own.
So lonely.
Lonely. Very much puts her in that netzach mode of being this heroine that's going to be handling it all. And there's a lot of disrespect.
I think it's also, let's talk about how heavy that is, right? It's so heavy for her to be a single parent, especially with someone around, who could technically be a responsible adult, but just isn't, right? So like the resentment, the pain, the loneliness, the heaviness, the anger, it's a lot. And a lot of it stems, like you said, from not really trusting him and not seeing him as a responsible human being who is able to take care of someone else. Like if he can't take care of himself or regular male responsibilities, how could he take care of a live human being, a precious little baby?
I also want to put out, even if it's less extreme, even if a woman does feel like her husband's functional and, he is a good father, I think even in those dynamics, there still will be a sense of, but I'm the mother, so I know better.
Right. Especially like you said, a lot of women, primarily women, are involved in reading the parenting books and going to the courses and reading every snippet that they can about parenting. Maybe because we're second guessing ourselves all the time and not really listening to our own intuition. But there's also that beautiful drive to want to be the best that I can be and give my child everything that they deserve to have, which is so beautiful. So they're so invested and there's so much energy and there's so much passion there. And then watching their husband not be involved at all, right? So imagine like the wife who's trying to get her husband to join her to some sort of course and he just doesn't get on, or he's not reading the book, or maybe he read the book because she forced him or whatever it is, but not implementing properly. So it could be really sticky and really painful.
Maybe he even tells her that he disagrees with the book. He doesn't want to parent that way.
Right.
And I think everyone who parents, whether you have still young children or if you have older children, knows that this could be the number one source of tension in a relationship. Frustration over how, what, when, just a lot of our shalom bias can be compromised just over the parenting issue.
Yeah. That's why when I first heard the principle, my husband is indispensable to my children's well being, as am I, that was like revolutionary to me. Very revelatory, too. I hadn't realized that. I didn't realize that it was a truth or a fact that my husband contributes to my children. To me, it was very clear that I'm indispensable, very clear that I'm indispensable to my children in every which way, physically, emotionally, um, psychologically. Like it makes a lot of sense to me that I contribute tremendously to my children. But I didn't think that that truth also applied to my husband. It just didn't come to my brain. I don't know how to explain this to you. It was just, I don't know, kind of like, having, some people have like a special aunt, or some boys will have a special uncle who like reaches out to them and takes care of them and really contributes to their well-being. And I kind of looked at my husband like that. Like, sometimes you have an aunt, sometimes you don't. It's awful. I really think that I didn't consider it. It wasn't considered.
Yeah, I think when you say it, it sounds like, oh, that's so bad. I just think that it is kind of natural for a lot of women, because you're pregnant, you carry this baby for 9 months, you birth the baby, and then a lot of women nurse the
Nursing.
baby.
Yeah.
Right. So there's this whole world for a mother, this whole experience, and she's not allowed to eat. A lot of women have restrictions around being pregnant. They have, if you have a hard pregnancy, or you're not allowed to eat certain things, you're busy with this. Obviously, it's inside your body, so you're busy with this baby from the second they're conceived. Um, it consumes you, and then the birth is a whole experience, and there's a recovery and nursing for a lot of women. Even if they are, there's a lot of, they're busy with it. It's like a full, especially in the beginning, it feels like a full-time job. It's pretty much all you're doing.
Yeah.
So a lot of that is going to kind of build this feeling of like, yeah, like if the dad just left, not obviously not really, but like, he's not really needed. I got everything that the baby needs is here in the mother. And I think that can continue into toddler, elementary, teenagehood, and then it morphs into, I know this child better, I understand this child better. You need to follow my direction. Like, you need to follow my lead. I'm going to lead the parenting. You're going to follow. I'm going to tell you where to be, what to do, what to say, where to go, and just kind of follow my lead. And then when it doesn't work out, obviously that's not comfortable, and will stop working out at a certain point, or never start working out to begin with. That's where the tension comes in.
Right. I'm just thinking of the example, like imagine a mother, so man and wife, baby starts crying, so typical. Like she's like, okay, I'll just nurse her. She's cluster feeding. Like I'll just, right. So that's the easiest way to calm and soothe the baby. And it builds this belief that you have to be the one taking care of the baby. Right. And so imagine the husband saying, no, I want to try, I want to try to soothe the baby, but like you can't nurse. So what are you going to do exactly? So it really, there's definitely this huge element of what do you have to offer as opposed to me, who I have everything here and I know, I've researched, I've watched the YouTube videos, like whatever it is. And I'm with you. It just continues until there's like this breakthrough, which thankfully I had, realizing that my husband is indispensable too. So there's also the difference of paradigms, I think, in approaching parenting that plays in also when there's complications between the husband and wife when it comes to parenting. So, I mean, just looking at our me dice, right? So like the feminine line versus the masculine line, the way we express ourselves, the way that we function is different. So the way that we're going to parent is going to look different. And I think that is very hard for women to swallow. Obviously, if it's different, it's wrong, right? Like my way is definitely the right way, but really it's just his way, which is just different. But it's not fair to say that's off or wrong.
Well, yeah, also because my way, the feminine, like mothering is intuitive, hopefully, to a mother. So I feel like, oh, this is like, it's intuitively right. So, and my intuition doesn't give me a masculine paradigm for parenting because I'm not a man. So it doesn't feel, you know, intuitively right. And you'll say to women like, you know, like the concept of like sister wives, would be like, yeah, it'd be so much more helpful to just have like another female on hand. Like we'll just be in this groove, they'll just get it, like we'll be on the same page.
Right.
And the piece that the principal is sharing, which is your husband is indispensable to look at God's vision for how children should be raised, is with masculine and feminine energy. So no, you actually don't have everything your children need. And it wouldn't be good if it was, you know, it was just sister wives. Children.
Actually, just a quick story on that piece, but don't forget what
Yeah.
you were going to say. Like, I remember when things weren't going so well at home here. So I remember my daughter asking me before she was going to sleep. She was younger. She asked me, you know, when is my father coming home? When's Tati coming home? And I said, no, he has a meeting, whatever. And she told me, I don't feel safe when Papa's not home. And to me, it like was like a knife to my heart because I couldn't understand that. Like, what does that even mean? Like, I would be the one to die for you. Like, I would be the one to defend you with my very life. So I know karate. Like, why do you think that that makes more sense? You know, but what happened was I realized that there was something, this was like my first revelation. There was something that my husband offered that I was totally blind to that was like the principal says, indispensable to my child's sense of security that I wasn't giving her. I couldn't give it to her. She wasn't going to get it from me. And that for me was really eye-opening. And my child had to tell me that.
Wow. That's really cool. Yeah, I think there's what that story speaks to is even just the presence of the father gives children a sense of security. Just if you kind of want to not fast forward, but if we're looking at a woman who is embracing her husband's contribution, it's something that she could really, really lean on and draw strength from. Even for me, I relate to it from a discipline perspective, like how it feels, even if I'm disciplining my children, how it feels to discipline my children when my husband is home, even if he's home in a meeting, but he is physically in the house and I need cooperation from my children, what type of support his presence brings. It makes a really big difference. There's a sense of stability that a father brings. And I'll have women say the opposite. I had a client who told me, my husband's in the way. I'm trying to get the kids to school. He's in the way. I'm trying to get them to bed. He's in the way. He's just messing it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that too. Which, like, if we just, I mean, because our audience already knows the spirits and knows the feminine versus masculine paradigm, I think it would be fun to just like go through it really quickly, just to bring a little bit of clarity, right? So, like, let's say a woman in her Bina Gvura, let's just start with that. So Bina, the analysis, the understanding, clarification, breaking down of an idea. So a lot of that is like deep understanding of where my child is coming from, making sure that like all the details of, you know, their life is set up to, you know, for success. And the Gvura, which is like the restriction, strength, withholding, categorizing, making schedules and structure. So that's what a woman deeply contributes to her home. She's the one who has like a whole structure to bedtime. Bedtime is not just like, hey, go to sleep on the couch, you know, like bed, That's not the bedtime routine. Bedtime routine is we take a bath and we sing songs in the bath, and then we gently make our way to the couch, and then we read stories, and then we just float up the stairs, and then we get into bed, and there's like a whole like, you know, shutting your eyes and we're shutting your shoulders. Like there's a whole routine to bedtime, right? I've heard all
Come
this.
to do in my house.
Point is that there's a routine and a structure. That's the Bina Gavura, where she's bringing gorgeous, right? Gorgeous contribution to her children, which also contributes to like the safety and security when things are interpretable and things are like
Predictable.
predictable. Yeah, jinx. When you could like see what's going to happen. So I totally hear that sister wives concept that you're bringing, which is like other women would get on board with that because if they're aligned with those spheres, it's easy for them to parent in that way. Oh, that's your structure? I love it. Let's do it, you know, because we love the Gvura, we love the Bina. A lot of like like that I love how Sargit always says this, like a mom getting down on her knees and like getting eye to eye with her child, like connecting with them in a very which sphere would you connect that to? It's like
It's also Bina and Gavura, like very much reading the person where they're at, very attuned to details. I'm thinking even just like while you're speaking, like each mother knows. I think about this sometimes, you know, like every mother's fear, God forbid, if, you know, something were to happen, like how is someone going to know, like that this child eats, you know, the avocado sliced this way on the rice cake with this amount of salt, and this one needs his cream cheese on that corner of the slice of the bread with the, you know, like, and this one wants his soup at lukewarm, and this one wants it less than lukewarm and higher than lukewarm, and this is his shirt that scratches him, and all these like tiny little details that mothers, and when you make the baby's bottle, the exact temperature, the exact amount of milk that goes with the water, all these tiny details that mothers are very attuned to and very on top of, and like you said, does give children a sense, there's that sense of safety and security. My mother's going to know exactly what I need, when I need it, how I need it. That's, you know, that's what we do.
right, which I love. And then let's like jump over to the other side, right? So the chochma, chesed, netzach. What does parenting look like coming from those midas? So that looks really different, right? So that's super different. What is chochma? Chochma is that wider picture. It's not in the details. It's seeing the whole situation as a whole. It's just seeing the scene. Chesed is all that generosity, that abundance, that like, let's have ice cream for dinner. Let's go out at 9:00 at night to watch this, you know, the, what's it called? Like the star shower. What's it called? The comets, you know, let's go to donuts in our, you know, bathing suits or pajamas, you know, whatever it is, all that, what we as women think is chaos, but it's all, abundant, not structured, not restrained. It's open and it's flowing, and
It's what you call fun.
right, it's fun. Exactly.
That's are really fun.
Yeah, it's not limited. It's not within the structure of every single day. It's also, by the way, like I've heard this from you, like that. Like what are more examples of like the abundance where like the father's like, yeah, let them have the candy, or like, let's go stop at 7-Elevens.
Yeah, it's things like, it's, let's say, even like, just to take it a step back before you get to the chesed, you were saying the chochma, the vision, right? And you're if we're contrasting a masculine bedtime routine or a feminine bedtime routine, so a woman will say to her husband, can you help me get the kids into bed? And her husband will come home, walk through the door, okay, everybody get into bed right now. And you know, she's like, the woman like chokes like they haven't brushed their teeth, they're not finished eating, this one takes an apple, this one takes half a cup of water, this one scratches his left ear before, like there's so many nope, everyone has to get into bed right now. And the kids are like, maybe the kids will even protest, like, how can you do this to me? I didn't get my apple, and I didn't get my cup of water, and I didn't get my rice cake. And it's like, they're, and, like, well, what's going to happen to the kids? They're not in their pajamas and all of these things. The mother's like having her own meltdown. And it feels in that moment like you said, like chaos or like catastrophic. And it's just a different way.
It's hard to see that though, right? Like I can imagine a woman feeling like, I never want to ask him to help ever again because that's not helpful, right? Like no woman wants to like gather up all the broken pieces after you ask for help. The point of help is to feel like I don't have to invest anymore. I could take care of myself. And then to feel like I have to pick up all the broken pieces that's not fun. And also I can imagine a woman's reaction to that, really, really having this deep fear of what is this going to do to my children's emotional development down the line? Right. So like I listened to Hinting and Chayla. They said I have to receive more. So now I'm going to receive bedtime more from my husband. But if this is what bedtime's going to look like every single night, I feel like I'm doing something to my children. Like I'm abandoning them. I'm letting this person like,
It's
right.
going to be
It's
traumatized for life.
so much
Why?
fear can come up for a woman with an example like this, which I feel like is a very relatable example. So I'm happy you brought that up.
Yeah. It's, so to speak to the fear that everyone experiences in general, and maybe we've mentioned this in the past, but it'd be worthwhile to mention it now, because we have the masculine paradigm on the right and the feminine paradigm on the left, and then you have Malchus at the base, so at the bottom, Malchus is the receiver, so receptivity does bring balance. So it's not that, now forever your children are going to bed not brushing their teeth, not getting into pajamas, and bedtime routine has been abolished, unto eternity. This is a contribution. This is an opportunity. Your children are learning resilience. You are getting support around bedtime. So you can now choose to go and put your feet up and relax and close your door. And the receptivity will indicate that there's a space for your husband to show up. There's a space for his way and his support. And as you move through this parenting with that attitude of receiving his contribution, creating space for it, balance will start to show up. You'll notice your husband the next night or, whatever, be like, oh, on your way up, brush your teeth, change pajamas. It will come. I do believe that the balance will come. But very often a woman's had one of those incidences. She's been so shocked by it that it's proved her point. They cannot help. They shouldn't help. She says to him, if that's how you're going to help, then that's not helpful. No, thank you. I'll do it all myself. And that's what crushes it. And it could be, he might even try again. And I've had women share with me that their husbands have told this to them straight out. I can't help you because there's no space for me. Which is
I
why
have
I
had
don't
a
come home.
woman, which is why I don't come home. Wow. I remember a woman telling me she asked her husband for help around bedtime. And he said, you don't want me to help. You want another you to help. You want another clone of you to help you, but you don't want me to help. And it was like such a moment for her realizing that, yeah, that's exactly what she wanted. She just wanted someone to do exactly what she wanted, not for her husband to bring any sort of contribution of his own person, which
Yeah.
is
And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, yeah, I do want that, and what's wrong with that? Because it is so much better when you do the whatever you describe, the stories and the floating and all of that. It is much better. It is much better if children didn't need a father. It doesn't create balanced children if they only interact with their mother. Balanced children have a father and a mother. That's how God created it. Now, what qualities do you get from the masculine paradigm? What qualities do children get? They get resilience, they get flexibility, they get their own sense of, which is similar to resilience, endurance. They also get a sense of spontaneity, a sense of fun, really good memories. Um, some people will say, I remember from my own childhood, those times when, my father took us for a drive, and he was going in the no entry zone and driving a little faster than the speed limit, and we were in absolute glee. It was the best fun.
Right.
Not something that my mother would ever do, or
Right.
probably don't even think she was there.
Right.
So those make for really, really, really beautiful memories and bonding experiences, and also teach children to handle, when
The
everything isn't like
unpredictable.
unpredictable. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're just bringing up a story for me. So when I was a teenager, my father had a share, still has a share every Tuesday night. And he asked me to call all the people to remind them to come. It was my job for like 5 years. And I, being someone who probably had social anxiety or just like was like really afraid of talking to a man over the phone. It was really hard for me. So if it was a mother interaction, I probably would have been like, this is too much. I'm sorry, I can't do it, And my mother would have been, Mama Shefla, it's okay, you don't have to, right? As opposed to
Right.
like, my father said I have to do it. There's no pushback on that. Like he said, do it. Now I have to do it. And so I had to grow into it. It wasn't easy. It was hard, but I had to grow up to his trust of him thinking that I'm capable of doing something like that. And it made me trust myself. So it's not just
Yeah.
like this overwhelming of like, they'll man up or they'll get stronger, build resilience, which is important too. But I also feel like there's an element of trust where he trusted that I could do this. So now I'm going to grow up into that,
Yeah,
attain
yeah,
that.
that's a really cool example.
Yeah.
Again, a mother in that situation would be really, really quick to protect. She would negotiate on behalf of her daughter. Does she have to call all of them? Maybe she could just call one. And again, because we
Baby
have that very
steps.
baby steps, we have that very strong sense
Right.
of like protecting, protecting, protecting. You have it. You have it with kids, right? A kid is crying and the father says, stop crying. And the mother's like falling apart. How can you tell him to stop crying? You need to create space for his emotions. He's not going to be able to feel emotions when he grows up. A lot of these experiences where it brings out our overprotectedness or just our inner protector. And it's because we're not seeing it as a contribution. We're seeing it as a threat.
Right. And that's so powerful, right? Because our perception, like the principle of I create with my thoughts, words, and intention, my thoughts, my perception really creates our reality. So if I see my husband as a monster, um, then I'm not going to say, oh, he's going to behave like a monster, but it does have an impact. Like I know for myself, if someone thinks that I am clumsy in their presence, I drop things. I do. I just do. Not to say that I shouldn't be accountable and not drop things. Or if someone thinks that I don't drive well when they're in the car, I don't drive well. I run reds. I switch lanes without looking. I should not do that. I should act in the way that I always am instead of the way that they perceive me. But perceptions do have impact. So if I see my husband as a monster, as irresponsible, or however way I look at him, then it might create some continuity in his behavior. Again, not that he doesn't have to be accountable for his behavior, but like I would love to know if I'm somehow contributing to a dynamic here. And I know I definitely was. And I love what you were saying about how if I could change my perception and just like give a little bit of space and let him learn how he wants to parent. Like imagine the wife who, similar to me, where there was no space for him whatsoever. So the first time I'm suddenly making space for him to run bedtime or for him to take the kids out on a Sunday, for an hour, he's going to forget the diapers. Like, he's not going to remember all the different details like I do, because this is his first time. Like, I'm suddenly making space and he has to learn the dance. He has to learn his own dance, his own masculine way of contributing to the children. And that develops and unfolds. And the more I can have the perception of, I trust him and I know his impact is so huge on our children, and I want to gift my children the security and the sense of just identity that having both healthy parents parenting them will give to them. So let me just like wait and see how this unfolds, instead of being led by your fear or by your negative perceptions.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to, I don't think we've covered, I think we could speak more about this. It's a big topic, and maybe we should do a part 2 where we go through even more examples. But something that really sticks with me is, I don't know who said it. I'm sorry that I can't, maybe you know the quote, but parenting or raising children is 95% shalom bayis and 5% davening. And that really stuck with me because as women, we've spoken a lot in this episode to how deeply we care about our children and how much we want to protect our children and not traumatize them and give them the best chance at life, at being successful, healthy human beings. And sometimes in the spirit of doing that, we sacrifice our marriage. We sacrifice our shalom bayis to protect our children. And when we realize that it's literally the first and number one main thing that children need are parents who respect each other and who love each other and who have a good relationship. Those parents can learn how to better interact with their children 100%. But you could be the number one mother, but if there isn't security in your marriage, your children unfortunately won't feel that, whatever you're trying to give them. And I know that that's very painful for mothers who gave up everything to be this amazing mother, only to discover that their children are broken because of the relationship that they didn't have with their husband. So if anything, I think that's like, that could be a motivation for a woman. Like, even if you feel like, oh my gosh, things are not ideal in the parenting realm, but you are more connected and more respectful and closer to your husband, that has actually more impact on your children than your husband saying the exact perfect sentence when your child is crying. So that a very helpful, that was very important for me to be aware of.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like I was also there trying to like do so many things to make sure that my child had security, like this sentence or this word or the fact that they had this lunch, will make sure that they feel secure within themselves. And really that sense of security, that deep sense of security, is born from your relationship. It's not something you can do. It just is. And it literally is birthed from the relationship between the husband and wife. And that's something to think
Ultimately
about.
comes down to the relationship that you have with yourself, which is how fixing your relationship starts with, right? You go to ownership and essential value. These are the deepest things that are transferred to your children. Your inner sense of well-being and which then translates into how you relate to your spouse. Those are the deep messages that our children internalize. So, yeah, I think it's really crucial that we remember that.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, so I guess challenge for the week, to just notice where you can see that maybe you haven't been making space for your husband in the realm of parenting, or just like notice yourself, what comes up for you when you're watching your husband interact with your child. And if it's negative, maybe there's something to work through there. And if it's positive, like enjoy it. Just be so happy and grateful that you have someone who's impacting your children in such a deep way. I'd love for our listeners to give us some feedback on like what was percolating after listening to this episode.
Yeah, what's coming up for you? Fears, beliefs, what makes this episode or slash principle feel doable or not doable. That we could speak to more in a part 2, possibly. So let us know. We would love to hear your feedback, thoughts, and questions.
Please leave a comment below or email us at yourrelationship@gmail.com.
Looking forward to connecting with you.
See you next time.